to this microphone, not too close. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andreas Papadaniil. I'm founder of SureSecure. SureSecure is offering security operations center services and also incident response based in Germany. And right now we are expanding globally. Also, I have a second company. Yes, I can use this. Thanks God. So now I can move also. I have a second company called Securance, and Securance is a broker for cyber insurances, because what we see in the market is that cybersecurity and cyber insurance is moving closer together. So we have a lot of customers right now in Europe who want to have a cyber insurance because they understand incidents, security incidents are a big risk, but they are not able to get an insurance because the maturity of cybersecurity is not on the level they have to be. So they go into audits, they have questionnaires, and they understand they don't have BCM plans, they don't have technical measurements in place. And that's where we are helping them to get them in place, make them insurable, and then insure them and do our incident response service. So for today, for my agenda, I want to talk about two things. First, I want to talk about the attacker side. How are security breaches happening? What is the work behind it on the attacker side? And on the other hand, I also want to explain how incident responders are working, which frameworks we can use and what we can do to respond properly to a cyber attack. So you will not see a lot of slides. I will try not to bore you, and I will bring some practical experience because myself, I handled around 20 ransomware cases in Germany in companies above like 3,000 employees. This is our target group. So let's say a little bit bigger companies, and we help them to recover from ransomware attacks. And also I want to try to give you some information about how AI is having impact on the attacker side and how we can even use it on the other side as a defender, because there will be a huge game changer in the future with AI for both sides. So first of all, I want to explain a little bit where I'm coming from. Anybody here in the room remembers WannaCry? Anybody does not know what WannaCry is? So I explain you a little bit. 2017, I was sitting in my office. I was a security analyst, and we got a first alarm from one of our customers, a security breach. And I was analyzing the incident, and I said, wow, this is really interesting what's happening here, because the exploit that was used to attack the system was really, really interesting. So to explain you a little bit what happened, the NSA, National Security Agency, the United States, they had like weapons, we can say, that they used to hack companies or identities. So they used it, and they didn't even publish it or tell it. It was a Microsoft vulnerability that was used, and as we all know, Microsoft is like has a big market share in operating systems. So they used it to hack systems, and they used it to do their espionage on the systems. And unfortunately, they got hacked. So all of these exploits got breached, and there was an interesting group from North Korea that found these kind of exploits, and they understood this can cause a lot of damage. Why? Because the vulnerability is in the Microsoft operating system. A lot of companies, I think almost every company is using it, and if you get this exploit running, you have like really high permissions on the system, let's say the highest permissions in the end, and they created a worm that was spreading automatically. And what's happening, I was waking up, I was seeing the TV, and I saw in Germany that the train stations were not running, I was seeing that hospitals were not working anymore, I was seeing even airports were affected. So what we saw is critical infrastructures got attacked in, I don't know, it was even 2 hours after the worm was spreading. Like most of the European, or a lot of the European infrastructure was down. And this was a moment where I realized that today you don't even need a missile or a rocket to shut down critical infrastructure. We're talking about electricity plants, hospitals, and I understood like the cyber warfare that is coming. And yeah, this was the moment I got really interested in the thing. And I was thinking like this is one of the most interesting fields right now in IT. And I was getting more into this, in the material. And we had a lot of luck, honestly, because this kind of attack, it was spreading very fast. And unfortunately, for the attackers, the malware was not programmed very well, let's say, because there was a kill switch inside that made the ransomware to stop, and it was activated by incident. I don't want to go into details. You can Google or go on YouTube afterwards and look at WannaCry. Very interesting story. And yes, today I want to show you, this was a automatical attack that spread it very fast. And I want to show you also more sophisticated attacks, advanced persistent threats, how the actors are working. Because it's all standard procedure. How can I go to the next slide? This little switch? The big one?
The green one.
The green one. Aha. So what we see right now on the screen is the cyber kill chain. This is how attackers usually go on if they want to attack companies, bigger companies. The first phase is called reconnaissance. So what the attackers are doing is getting information about the target. And they're using the internet for scanning for assets. They want to see what domains are registered, which systems are facing the internet, which vulnerabilities do you have, are your systems patched actually or not, and they gather all of these informations. And here we have to understand they are targeting individuals because they just don't want to enter anywhere. They want to go for the highest targets, for example, and CEOs, CFOs, the board, for example, are people who are exposed to the outside, and they're gathering informations. It could be also like private informations about which school your children are visiting, or what kind of hobbies do you have. So they perhaps find out in social media that you like to ride a bicycle, and you are, yes, a lot of times are involved in sport events. So perhaps you get an email with an attachment where they say, I have a perfect offer for you. This bicycle is now in a reduced price, or we have this sport event, we would like you to be there. And then they want you to click on the attachment to infect your systems. And here also we see an impact of AI, because the gathering of information is now much faster. If you use, for example, ChatGPT, you will understand what I'm talking about, because if we did research in the past, we need to go on Google, we need to enter the name, and then we have to click all of the pages and to understand what's going on. The research took hours, and you go to the third page and you go a little bit deeper, and then you see, okay, this link, there's nothing behind it, I have to change the website and all of this stuff. Now what you do, you just pick up your phone, you see this little microphone sign, and you tell ChatGPT, give me all the information on the internet you find about this person. So the process is much faster. Give me all the information you can find about this company, for example. And this is a simple thing you can use to gather information much faster and get your information also more deeper, because the first question you ask is give me information in general, and then ChatGPT asks you, do you want to understand in which market this company is active? Do you want to know further information on this? And this is also what attackers can use for targeted attacks. Now, when I have my information about the company, I can understand where to attack. Till today, the most, let's say, entry points for the attackers are email attacks still. And then you might ask me, like, why is it still email attacks? We see it's in such a long time, and don't we have like email protection and antivirus and firewall and all of this stuff? But we have to understand that also the attackers, they use new techniques to attack us. So in the past, let's say 7 years before, everybody was speaking about Excel files with macros. Then you got an email with an attachment, Excel file with macro. Okay, a little bit later, we reacted on this, so everybody said Excel files with macro, we cannot allow this to send it as an attachment, let's block it everywhere. Case closed, fine. But what happens after that? A little bit later, nowadays what we see, you get a link in your email, and by the time the email is sent to you, there's nothing behind the link. So your email security is going after the link. They say, okay, I checked the email address, I checked the domain, it's safe, everything is fine. Now we even have sandboxing. Sandbox clicks on the link, you see what is behind that. Okay, there's no malware, now malware, everything is fine. They send it to the recipient, and what happens a little bit later, they activate the malware behind the link. So it bypasses the email security. And it will always be like this. The attackers will find a new way to attack us, and we have to respond, we have to build patterns, we have to build detections, and to stop this kind of thing. So, the next phase, if I get my information, is weaponization. I choose my weapon. As I said, in WannaCry, they had a huge weapon, let's say one of the biggest weapons I ever saw on Earth, because the weapon they used was called Eternal Blue. It was a vulnerability in Microsoft, like I said, a well-spread operating system, and they made sure the weapon I used to exploit this system works on pretty much every system in the companies we are attacking. It was pretty easy to use it. And then when I'm in the environment, I came through an email attack, I will look around in your environment, and it's pretty easy for me to scan your network and to understand, do you have old operating systems? Do you have old software versions? What can I do inside of your networks? What kind of weaknesses do you have? And you have to imagine, perhaps you think today, okay, we have 10,000 assets in our organizations, we have a lot of server, and the attacker, he has to find out this one system. He will not find out about it. I'm pretty sure it's just one system. Exactly, this is what you will find out. Because in most of the companies, he has a lot of time. To do it in the beginning, to find out exactly which are the weak systems. He takes his time, he chooses his weapon, his exploits, and then goes to the next phase, the delivery. And also here, in weaponization, we see a change. Because I told you, in WannaCry, it was totally automatical. They used the weapon Eternal Blue because they knew it has a big impact. I can just take over a lot of machines for sure. But in other attacks, you go more manually and you look at the system and say, okay, here's a Linux, there's a Windows, it has this version, it has this version. I look at my repertoire of weapons and I choose the exploits I want to use. And it takes a lot of time for the attacker, and if you take a lot of time, it also means that the responders on the other side can find out about you and see what you are doing. And now imagine in the time of AI, where all of these things happen in seconds, because automatically your system gets dense, the AI understands, okay, I found this, I can use this exploit, and it will automatically shoot at the systems. So that is what we are seeing right now. Let's say like an AI agent that is used in the environment to choose the right weapons to take over your systems. And it makes it really hard for the defenders, because in the case of WannaCry, you see the Eternal Blue exploit, and you see how it is used. You reverse engineer it, and you understand it attacks the SMB protocol, it does these kind of things, this is what's happening. So I build a pattern, and I say, whenever these kind of things are happening, I can prevent it. But now, if we have AI, an AI attack, for example, it can understand, I use Eternal Blue, I get prevented, they do a measurement against me, then I use another weapon. I don't know. There are plenty of exploits you can use. You can even Google this and get an understanding, and even if you want, you can go on the darknet and buy some of these exploits to build your own malware. And we see a very much different approach right now. And this is a nightmare for defenders in the end, yeah? Because you're on the side, you understand, you build a pattern, you want to defend, and they are changing the behavior. That's why also, if a customer gets attacked on large scale, we talk about ransomware, for example, the first advice I give to the CEO is to shut down completely the internet connection on all assets. And then they look at me and say, are you kidding me? You want me to shut down the internet connection on all of my systems? My business is running. We have our application servers. We have customers behind it. We have this, we have that. And I say, okay, what do you want to do? You have an attacker in your environment who is actively working against you. And most of these companies, I'm sorry to say, they don't have really the visibility, because they don't have security operation centers running to understand what is the attacker doing. So you have an attacker in your environment to try to fight him, and he's fighting back. And you don't want a war in your IT environment. So the first thing you do, shut down the internet connection, get him out of your network, so you can work on these things without him watching you, because you cannot watch him, but probably he is watching you, and he is reacting on what he is doing. So after the weaponization, he goes to delivery, because he chooses his weapons, he knows what to do, and he goes now to the different systems and delivers the exploit to the system to open them. So he has access, and there are different kind of exploits, but what we want to have is like the highest permissions on the system. Then we are there, and we can take over the systems and distribute. and decide what we are going to do from these kinds of machines. We install the malware itself. And that's where also some of the attacks, they get detected very late. Because I enter, I exploit, and the malware itself, who's doing the work on the system, which your antivirus can detect, is coming at a later stage, for example. And then we have to understand the malware that is used. There are millions and millions of versions. And perhaps you ask yourself the question, companies are investing billions in antivirus, in firewall, in email protection, and still they get hacked. Why? Because attackers always are looking for new techniques and make sure, for example, fileless ransomware. So instead of an executable file that is put on your system that can be found, because what do antivirus products do? They look at the file, they say, okay, this file has this size, this file has this ending, it's a exe, for example. This file looks like this, so I say from this pattern it's a virus. Now you change it a little bit. You say it's a PowerShell script, and this PowerShell script just downloads a couple of modules, sets it together. You do some kind, I don't want to go into details, but they have a lot of techniques they can use, and your antivirus is doing nothing anymore. I don't want to say antivirus is bad. You need the ABC of cybersecurity. We definitely need email, we need antivirus. But what I want to say is we cannot only rely on prevention, because prevention fails every day. If you just rely on prevention, we cannot defend ourselves. So we have in our cybersecurity strategy also have a look at detection and reaction. Because if my prevention fails, my email security, my firewalls, whatever, I have to be able to detect the attack and then respond in a proper time. And what I saw, for example, in Germany is, you have to understand, Germany has a lot of world-leading companies over there, like 10,000 employees, 20,000, 50,000 employees, very big companies, globally scaled, working in 40 countries, having production plants. These are the customers we are having. And then in the end, they're operating IT 9 to 5 to the office hours in Germany. And that's the biggest problems, because attackers, they don't have office hours. The attackers, they work 24/7, and mostly the administrator comes into his office Monday morning and he sees a nice wallpaper on his computer which is saying you got encrypted. Why did this happen? Because these kind of encryption processes, they will happen on vacation days, they happen on the weekends, they will never happen during the week in the office hours, and then nobody is there to react. That's why now Christmas is coming soon. I remember 4 years before Christmas, I was sitting there with my family, eating our Christmas dinner, and then I got a phone call. A customer told me, okay, we got encrypted completely by ransomware, we don't know what to do. Can you please help us? And then when you're an incident responder and you want to help the people, you don't sit there, you just go into your car, you drive there and handle the situation. So, yes. The salaries are very nice in cybersecurity right now, to be honest, but the work is also on the other side very, very stressful. Yes. Then after I installed my systems, because you have to understand, when I enter an environment, I told you I come with an email and I am on one user's computer. But that's not my target. If I enter a big company, I'm interested in the sensitive data. I want to, for example, exfiltrate data. I want to have the information from this company, or I just want to encrypt you and take some ransom, whatever I want to do. But the entry point is not the target I want to go to. So I have to move inside your environment. We call it lateral movement. I try to get your other systems too, and I try to install backdoors. Why do I need backdoors? If you find me on one system and you understand this guy is doing a mess, he's very loud, I don't want him inside, I will throw him out of my network. I want to be attached to a different system in your environment. So I try to spread my malware everywhere and sit on different systems. I try to get a new user in your environment that you don't know that is existing over there, just to stay there. And then I take action. I have my command and control infrastructure outside to get commands to my environment. And then at the end of all of this, I take action on objectives. And that is what most of the customers don't understand. They say, I got attacked, I got a ransomware. I got a ransomware attack, totally encrypted, and then they have to understand the action of encrypting your system is the end of the attack. It's not the beginning of the attack. probably the attacker was inside your environments for weeks, for months. He did all of the things he wanted to do. He took all of your passwords. He took all of your accounts. He took from your Active Directory, with this your main directory in your company. You can see every user by its name, every email address, and also the reporting line. So I have information about the CFO, the financial structure, the CEO, the board, who is reporting to whom. I have all of the information. Perhaps you're manufacturing something. In Germany, we have a lot of manufacturing customers who are, for example, manufacturing goods for big tech companies in the United States or all over the world, and they get the information and they want to either also get ransom for it, because then they have the information and they tell you, if you don't want us to publish these information, you pay us ransom. Or on the other hand, if it's more sophisticated, they even go to other competitors in the market and say, okay, I have information from your competitors. I have the information how to manufacture the goods. I have all the pricings. And if you buy it from us, you can make better prices than your competitor, for example. There are a lot of things that's going on, because we have to understand these threat actors are not, let's say, we called it like script kiddies in the past. They attacked systems and they were just proud to do some chaos. Yeah, they hacked the system and said, yeah, we hacked the system, look what we did. And things happen by random also. Now we are facing organized criminality, because the groups behind it are nothing else than, let's say, like the mafia we know from the past. You know, the Yakuza, Cosa Nostra, whatever, these kind of groups. So they were doing business in gambling, perhaps they sold drugs, they were doing these kind of things. And now these groups, they understood, they don't have these kind of names like Yakuza or something. They're called Conti, they're called Lockbit, they are called Blackbuster, whatever, all of these groups, and they're getting more and more. And they're organized crime. Nothing else than organized crime, and very well organized. So if they hack you, for example, you get the message and they say, please contact us. Please contact us to understand how much money you have to pay us about the ransom. And what you will find is a professional help desk structure behind this. So if you contact them, you have very nice people over there talking to you and make you understand, okay, how much revenue do you make? How much employees do you make? We had a case, for example, just to get an understanding. The company was doing 100 million of revenues, and then they said, okay, we want 10 million from you for the ransom to pay. And please pay it in Bitcoins. And then in Germany, the companies say, okay, we don't even have a wallet. How do we pay even in Bitcoins? No problem, we give you support on this. Here are our FAQs. You do it. They're very professional on it. But if you ask me, I get this question asked a lot of times, never pay the ransom, honestly. Never pay the ransom, because there's always a way to recover. You will only help them to develop a better business model in the end, and you have no security. You know, I always say, don't negotiate with terrorists in the end, because you will have no security that the key, because they say, we encrypted you, and if you pay us, we give you the key, and you can decrypt, and everything is fine. No, you are not sure that the key is working. Or you use the key, and you want to decrypt, and it takes a long time. And even your whole environment was shut down. So your application server could not speak with your database server. Now you have to get them up running again, and your database is saying, I'm not consistent, I don't know in which status I am, and it's a lot of work still to do in the end. So you better take care of your backups and recover. And even if your backups are just 2 or 3 weeks old, because everybody says, I have a strong backup strategy, I have backup of everything, like synchronous backup, real-time backups. Then they get hit by ransomware, and then they say, oh, wait a second, this system, I looked in the report, this backup is 2 months old. We have tapes, but where are the tapes? Okay, we take the tapes. We have to recover a terabyte of data from the tapes. Okay, that will take us a month. And this is the moment when you get a stress test on your backups, and I can recommend everybody to just do the test quarterly, half a year, because backup is not there to backup data, it's there to recover one day and get your services up and running. You see the complexity of these kind of attacks we are facing, and we see AI can take place in every kind of these steps to support the attacker. And now I push this nice green button to go to the next page to explain you.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Andreas. Yeah. We could listen to you all day, but we'll have to stick to the time. Last 5 minutes left. Yeah?
Perfect, no problem. I can do this in 50 minutes, but also in 5 minutes. So what you see right now is nothing I have invented. What you see right now is a standard framework for incident responders. It's based on SANS. There are a couple of institutes you can use. We go with this one. You can even use NIST or whatever. The first thing for incident response is preparation. You need to be prepared. Make sure you have a proper crisis management in place. You have the right people with the right roles. Because what I often see when we are called in this kind of incident is the whole room is in panic. The whole room is in panic. We have the CEOs, the CFOs. One is responsible for logistics. The other one is responsible for finance. The other one is responsible for sales. And everybody is in panic and says, we need to be up and running again. I say, yes, I understand. And then the fight begins. The next thing is recovery. Make your recovery plan, your BCM, before this thing happened and test it before. Because in these cases, I remember one case I had, and I had these 3 guys sitting there. And I was talking, and then the responsible guy for sales, he told me, we need our sales system right now, because without CRM and without this, we cannot serve our customers. Nothing is working. We need it immediately. And then the next guy said, okay, I'm responsible for logistics, and now we have the trucks and our production plants, and we cannot receive goods and we cannot send anything out. So if logistics are not working, you can sell whatever you want, but we cannot send anything to the customer. And then the financial guy steps in and says, okay, fine, you can sell, you can make your logistics, but if you cannot write an invoice and I have a look at the cash flow, it will take us 2 months and we are bankrupt. So what are we now prioritizing? And you don't want these kind of fights when you are in an incident. You have to make sure that this is solved before, because also these 3 guys are in this crisis like one of your most important guys right now to get your business up and running. So make your preparation. When you get an incident, it's happening. And it can happen to anybody, and it's not a shame. You see, a lot of big companies get hacked, not a problem. The first thing you got to do is identification. Don't take any countermeasurements, don't do anything stupid, just try to understand what happened to your network. Who is the threat actor? Who is the group that enters your network? How did they do it? How did they spread? Which exploit did they take? Try to find as much identification because you know what to deal with, which weapons they are using. And after you got this information about it, you can start to build up a recovery plan. You can start to go into the next phase, for example, the containment, because you want to stop this incident from, or this breach for spreading into your network. Sometimes it just starts like with one supplier of yours who has network access to your networks. He got hacked and it comes inside of your network. Or you have like one production site that got hacked and then the virus or the attack is spreading to your complete company. And that is where containment comes into place. You understand what's going on, you try to contain it, that it's not spreading anymore. As I said before, make sure your internet connection is shut down, the attacker cannot see what you're doing. And after the containment, where you stop the spreading, you can go to eradication. Eradication means now you get the virus and all the manipulation that the attacker did out of your network. And it's not only the virus files, because as I mentioned, he probably created some new users in your environment, he created backdoors, and you have to find out all of these points and put it backwards, and then slowly you can come to recovery. Very important is to have a secure recovery, because you have to understand if I recover my infrastructure, I cannot recover it the way it was, because I got hacked. My infrastructure was not safe enough. So I have to think about what mistakes did I do. If I recover, I don't use old operating systems again. Anyway, you have a downtime right now. And one of the biggest problems in patching system is you don't have a planned downtime, you cannot patch your systems, now you're down, use this time to update all of your systems, come back in a proper manner, install perhaps some more security tools, and very important advice in the end is, I had a lot of customers in the beginning of ransomware who didn't understand what's going on, and they said, we just recover our backups and we're up and running again. Please not. Because you don't know how long the threat actor was in your environment and what he did and what you already backed up inside. So I had one case, for example, a customer, he got encrypted 3 times until he called us because he said, I recovered from backups, I was up and running again, and then the attacker encrypted us again. Yeah, what do you think? The ransomware was still on your systems, you just recovered application servers that had the malware on top of it. So make sure to recover properly, and that is where we, for example, come into play and make like recovery plans to do it in a secure way. And the last step you got to take after all of this is over and you solve the case, you're up and running, you're making money again, your business is fine, you do the lessons learned. You have to understand we don't do this kind of lessons again, because what I often see when the IT is up and running again and money is made, the board turns away and goes to the next project because they say, case closed, everything is fine, and now we go for the SIP migration, we make the next cloud transformation project, or we want to go for AI. Now stop a little bit, understand what was happening, and just strengthen your infrastructure. Think about hiring more people, think about having managed service provider, think about taking other security management so you make sure this will never happen again. Because one time you can get hacked and your business partners, they will not blame you. They will say, okay, you got hacked, it's bad, we understand it. Perhaps they will even say we also got hacked. But if it happens a second time, the people will see it differently.
I'm sorry, Mr. Andreas, but I'm afraid we'll have to wrap this in next 2 minutes, yeah?
I'm finished.
Done? Oh, lovely. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Andreas, please? A lovely presentation touching all the key points.
Thank you.
Anybody has any questions for him? Yep. Can we give a mic to him, please? Hand over the mic.
Attacks, and now it's like in the thousands because of AI?
I don't know the exact number, but definitely we can expect much more zero-day attacks, because now the AI, because finding a zero-day, I was thinking like, how are the attackers so smart to find all the zero-days? No, there's a structure and also a framework. You can learn how to find zero-days. There are tutorials of this on the internet. And now these kind of patterns that are used to find zero-days can be put into an AI, and the AI can 24/7, without sleep, without eating, without nothing, can look for zero-days until it finds one.
That's the point. And also, I guess, using that and some other tools like Metasploit, I think it should be called AI-sploit nowadays. So,
yes. So the Metasploit toolkit that you use, these are mostly not 0 days, so they have exploits that are already there, and you can play around with it. The really danger are these 0 days, and we can just react, because a 0 day means this exploit is not known, we have no pattern to detect, we have no pattern to respond. And as you said, with AI, it will be much more. And what we can do on the defender side is also use AI, because it's a lot of work to understand the 0 day. My researchers are sitting there and say, I see this thing for the first time. What is it doing? So it takes them hours to understand what's happening. Then you have to make sure the quality of your prevention or your detection pattern is right, because you don't want to have a false reaction on it. And we also have to use then AI to get these 0 days. It can help us, and it also help the attackers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andreas. Can we have a huge round of applause for him once again, please? Any more further questions?